What if I told you that everything that you desire is going to cost you everything? You see, we have this fallacy where we believe that we can have success without sacrifice. This was one of the questions that was asked to me recently. Somebody asked me after one of my talks, Anthony, how do I deal with sacrificing the things that I don't want to? Now, I looked at it as a loaded question, but the person was serious. And I will tell you that any person that I have met, and I'm probably preaching to the masses here now, preaching to the choir. Um, if you have achieved anything in your life, the chances are you had to give up something, either internally or externally, to achieve it. And we're going to talk about that today because one of the things that I don't want you to fall victim to or suspect to is believing that there is a such thing as overnight success or that you will get something for nothing. Remember that everything comes with an opportunity cost. You must be willing to pay the price. And that's where most people fail. So the three things that we're going to dive into today is one, how do you make decisions based from desire and not desperation? Number two, how do we let go of things that don't belong to us? Remember, the law of sacrifice says in order to go up, we have to give up. And the last one is we're going to have to be willing to go up in order to give up. And we're going to discuss some things that you need to give up in order to achieve what it is that you're after, to get to that next level. Because what I have found is I have climbed the ranks in the military, as I have moved in different positions, titles, became a father and a leader, a speaker, coach, and trainer. Every one of those levels required a new version of me. And most people don't want to change, but they want change. It doesn't work that way. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Let's get ready to dive in to today's lesson. Point number one, we have to make decisions based off of desire, not desperation. Now, understand that at any given time when we're leading people, going out and operating in life, making decisions especially, we are making them from one or two places, from a decision based off of a desire or a decision based off desperation. And here's the difference between the two. When we make decisions based off of desperation, this often leads to compromising our core values. It allows us to sabotage our long-term vision, because when we're out of desperation, this is out of a place of lack, out of fear, out of scarcity. And when we look at what Stephen Covey said in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he says, we must begin with the end in mind. A lot of people have heard that before, but just think about that. Begin with the end in mind. Take that from a grand scale of your life. What is your life going to mean when it comes to the end and you're taking your last breath? What are people going to say about you? Now, you could bring that into a smaller scale and think about your 1-year vision, your next 90 days, your 2025, your New Year resolution. What is the end when that time comes? How are you or your life or the people around you going to be better? And what happens whenever we allow ourselves to make decisions from desperation, we lose sight of that long-term vision because we're looking for this quick fix, because we hurt so much. We have so much pain because of the situation or the circumstance that we're in. And we just look for something to numb the pain or to get rid of it altogether. That's why, the pharmaceutical companies are making so much money, because they have a pill for everything. Oh, you're overweight. Here's a pill for that. Oh, you got diabetes. Here's a pill for that. You can still eat like shit. Just take the pill. And you see, like, we are marketed to in this world, in this country, to believe that there's a quick fix for everything. And out of desperation is where people start making decisions that take them in the wrong direction. And we start compromising our core values. We compromise our relationships. We compromise our health. We compromise our spiritual, emotional, and physical growth. And so I want you to understand these key 3 things. Whenever we make decisions based off of desperation, number one, we focus on current problems instead of future possibilities. We are so fixated on the current problem that we lose sight of the future and what's possible for our life. The next point is we focus on instant gratification instead of long-term satisfaction. We just want what feels good and tastes good in the moment. We don't want to do the work to make sure that it lasts. And remember that anything that comes easy never lasts forever. Nothing lasts forever, but anything that comes easy rarely stays that way. And you think about marriage, you think about leadership, you think about your growth and development as a person. It's not easy. Change is inevitable. Growth is optional. And we have to understand that when we focus on instant gratification, these quick fixes never really fix anything. We end up becoming more broken in the process. And the next one is if we focus on making decisions out of desperation, we miss out on opportunities amidst the obstacles that are right in front of us. And so when the obstacles stand in the way, we have to understand that on the other side of that obstacle, should we push through, that's where the opportunity lies. That where you are is not your final destination. Should you decide to grow and make decisions based out of desire. But if you keep making it out of desperation, you're going to find yourself in the same place over and over and over again. And we have to understand that, recognize the difference between acting out of fear and our authentic desire, because desperation is when we act out of fear. We act out of scarcity, lack. And when we act out of desire, it's from our authentic self. It's what we really want. But when we are focused on what other people say we are, what other people want for our life, that becomes this desperation because we believe that they have our best interest at hand and that they can tell us what we need to do. Nobody's going to change you except you. And it has to come from the inside out. And so I want you to think about this. I had a friend that was getting commissioned with me many years ago, and I was going into the medical field, and he just wanted to be commissioned. And I said, well, what job are you going to get? And he said, I don't know. I just want to get commissioned. I just want to be an officer. And we were both enlisted at the time. And he put in for the SWO program. And it's a surface warfare officer. And every 6 months you apply. And it's not a matter of if you are selected. It's a matter of when you are selected. You will get selected. If you apply every 6 months, you will get selected. And it's a tough program. But it's a great way to get commissioned as an officer if that's what you want. But what he didn't realize is, out of desperation of becoming a naval officer, he got a job that he did not enjoy, that did not fulfill him, that did not align with who he was. And many years later, I got stationed in San Diego after I finally went through nursing school and went to ODS, Officer Development School. And I caught back up with him, and he was struggling. And he was on a ship out there in San Diego, and he said, I can't do this no more. And he got out of the military at like 16 and a half, 17 years. 3 more years, he could have retired, did 20, and got a retirement for the rest of his life. But it was so bad that he couldn't bear the pain of the decision that he made of becoming a surface warfare officer. And I thought it was just like, wow, out of desperation to become an officer, any officer, without the clarity of what we want, that vision of what we are going to, that destination, based on a desire, we make decisions based off of desperation, and we find ourselves in a place that we do not like, that does not serve us, that does not align with what we are going after or what we're called to be. And so I want you to think about that, because while you might get something, it's kind of like that adage, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. Remember, sometimes when we make decisions based off of a desire, it's not going to be easy, but sometimes God has to take us through it to get us to it, doesn't he? And sometimes we have to be able to discern whether or not this is taking me in the direction of my desired outcome. Because if we are distracted, right, the devil doesn't have to destroy us. He just has to distract us, and we destroy ourselves. But if we allow these distractions to run our life, what we will do is we will make decisions based off of an assumption that this is what's best. If it worked for him, it'll work for me. If it worked for her, it'll work for me. And then we make these decisions based off of what we perceive to be the right answer, the right way, the right direction. And we end up in a place, a destination that we do not like. And so I want you to think about this right now. I want you to take inventory of your life. And I want you to ask yourself, where am I making decisions based off of a desperation? And where in my life am I making decisions based off of desire of what I truly want for my life, my authentic self? And I guarantee you can look in your life and you can find areas where you're making decisions based off of desperation. That you're just trying to get the quick fix, that you want the easy route, that you're trying to fall back into comfort because it's easier. That's just our natural inclination. Comfort is where our body, our minds like to go because it's easy. We have to build a discipline to get away from that, because remember, when you move from a place of desire, you're creating a life that excites you, not one that just helps you survive. And so, point number 2. We got to stop holding on to things that do not belong to us. Now, What are we talking about here? Holding on to relationships, beliefs, roles that no longer serve us, that drains our energy and prevents our growth. We have to understand that this emotional baggage, the weight of this baggage, this mental, physical, emotional baggage will weigh us down and prevent us from getting to where we want to go. It keeps us stuck. We get started and then we stop. We get excited and then we stop. We pursue our purpose and then we quit whenever it gets hard. And I want you to understand that most people lack the self awareness to realize that they are just living their life on repeat. They're living their life literally going around in circles. And as a leader, as somebody who now has heard this and understands this analogy, it's up to us to help them become aware of what's possible for their life. And we do that not by telling them, but by showing them through our own actions and our own transformation. And if you're that person who realizes, man, I've been living my life on repeat, there's a framework that I'll share with you that will help you understand how this actually works. 4 areas, right? We get awareness that something is different, something is better for us, that there's more than our current situation or circumstance, right? And then we accept our role and why we are stuck in this cycle, this kind of circle movement that just goes around and around and around. We're on this merry-go-round, and we realize that, hey, I got to get off of this thing if I'm going to be moving in the right direction. Then we accept the fact that, hey, I've been entertaining these habits, these beliefs, these behaviors for far too long. And I got to accept my responsibility, my role in changing my life, because nobody's going to be able to change me. I got to be able to change myself. And so I want you to think about this. Once you have accepted your role and all of this and what you have been doing, now it's up to you to take action. What are you going to do about it? And most people get stuck here because they get, paralysis by analysis, and they say, well, I don't know what to do. Now, is that true? I will tell you that most people right now know exactly what to do if they want to change their life. The problem is they're just afraid to do it. They don't want to change because they don't want to lose. The fear of loss is what prevents us from making change in our life. But what if they don't love me? What if I lose friends? You're going to lose friends. But here's the thing. If people truly loved you, they would want what's best for you, even if that means that you're no longer associated with that person. And most people this is hard to let go. And so remember, you got to stop holding on to the things that don't belong to you, that you need to give up. And so once you have awareness, you accept your role and responsibility and take ownership for your life. You take action. You realize that, hey, I got to move forward. Now you need accountability. This is where I will tell you, having a coach, a mentor, a group that helps you hold you accountable to the things that you say that you want, and they remind you of why you are doing what you're doing. That is the most powerful thing that you can have. And it could be your spouse, it could be your kids, it could be a good friend of yours, it could be a mentor, or a coach, or a group. We have the Lead 360 Academy where we meet every week, and also on Saturday mornings. And that accountability group holds people to a standard that allows them to operate from a different way of thinking. And it's so important, because if you don't have accountability, you might take action, but you will surely after fall back into old default settings. Okay. So I want you to think about that. The other thing that I want to share with you too, 5 levels of liberation. When we're going through these levels, we start from default settings, right? And when we look at our default settings, these are programmed in us and by our family, by society, by our social circle. We have these influences in our life that program these thoughts and these beliefs and these behaviors and this identity at a young age. And as we get older, if we don't become aware of how they are serving us or stopping us, we will find ourselves in a place that's lacking growth, and we will never reach our purpose or our potential. And this is where most people operate from, is these default settings, and they end up living a life that they are not proud of. They live a life that is less than. They're unfulfilled. They hate their job. They just go through the motions, and they live their life on repeat, like we talked about earlier. But then once we have these default settings, we look at this next step, which is desperation, right? We realize that these default settings are not serving us, and we have a place of desperation where it's hurt so much and we are in so much agony that we are desperate for change, that we need something different. And this sparks the next level, which is a desire. We have awareness that there's something better, that this relationship is no longer serving me, that this job is no longer fulfilling me, that the habits, behaviors, and beliefs that I have about myself and about others is no longer serving me. There has to be something better. And we become aware of something better through a mentor, through a coach, through a book, through a podcast, through a friend. We look at somebody else, and normally this is what happens, right? We see somebody who's no more qualified than us, that has no more deserving than us, and you see them moving forward and at a faster rate than you in life, and you're wondering, how is it that I am falling behind in life and these people are moving forward? At one point we were peers and now they've passed me up. Well, it's because you have a desire, you have the awareness, but you have failed to take action. And this is where the next step comes in. Once you have the desire, you know what's available for you. You know what the next step is. You have to be disciplined in your pursuit of getting it. Now, what happens when we become disciplined and we're chasing discipline? We get distracted. And these distractions kill our discipline. And while we get started and we're excited, guess what happens now? We get distracted by life's bullshit and we end up stopping and we never get started because we start getting comfortable in the chaos, and we find people who agree with our BS and we stay put, and we don't want to change because we're accepted there. We're appreciated there. We are welcomed there. And I'll tell you that if you have a group of friends that are not helping you grow, you don't have a circle, you have a cage. And I want you to get around a circle of friends that are going to help you, push you to be, do, and have better in your life. They're going to see your potential and push you to your greatness, not ones that are going to hold you back and agree with your limiting beliefs. Okay. And the last one of this 5 levels of liberation is you have design. Now you are at a place of ascension and you are no longer being influenced by society, by the news, by the media, by the politician, by whoever. You are the influencer in your circle, and you are going into places and areas of responsibility, and you are that positive influence in that place. You take on the role of a father or a leader in your business or in your organization, and you are the one that brings the life into the room. You don't go out there and cut out the lights, right? You go into these different interactions with intention to increase your influence and to have massive impact. And these default, desperation, desire, discipline, and design are all levels in which we climb in. And so I want you to think about that as you go through your life, because I think it was Eric Hoffer that says this: most people will cling to an unsatisfactory way of life rather than change for something better out of fear of getting something worse. And what is he saying there? He's saying that most people will get comfortable in a less than satisfactory life because they're too afraid to change for something better, because their default setting is fear, and they automatically have fear that things are going to get worse. And that used to be my mantra: hope for the best, but prepare for the worst. And what would I always do? I would always prepare for the worst. And what did I get? Usually worst case scenario, because I was so focused on it. Remember, where your focus goes, your energy flows. And when we're focused on something, we have this reticular activating system, and it goes finding truth in that, right? When you buy a new car, let's say you buy a BMW, all of a sudden now you start seeing BMWs everywhere. Why is that? Not everybody went out and bought a BMW that day, but your focus is on there. So therefore you see more of it. So when we focus on the bad things, guess what happens? We see more of it. And we have to understand that we can't live our life focusing on the negative or focused in the past, because if we do, then we just end up repeating the process. Okay. The last one is we got to be willing to give up in order to go up. Now, this is something that, our pride and our ego will try to keep us from. We don't want to give up. We're not quitters, but sometimes winning requires us to quit, doesn't it? And John Maxwell says this: there can be no success without sacrifice. The two go hand in hand. If you desire to accomplish little, then sacrifice little. But if you want to accomplish great things, be willing to sacrifice much. And what is he saying here? That success comes with a price. Significance comes with a price. Leadership comes with a price. Just be willing to fit the bill when you get that price tag, because it's going to cost you everything. It's going to cost you the willingness to give up your current beliefs, your current situation, your current circumstance. I think about whenever I joined the military, and, I was living on a friend's couch. I was bouncing around, kind of floundering in life. And as crappy as my situation was, it was hard for me to make that decision to go to the military. I questioned it and I second guessed myself. And I just, out of fear, is this for me? I don't know. And I'll tell you that it was because of exactly what Eric Hoffer said. Most people will cling to an unsatisfactory way of life instead of change for something better out of fear of getting something worse. My whole thing was, what if it doesn't work? What if I go there and I fail? What if I go there and I lose? Well, I had nothing to show for my life anyway at that point because there was nowhere for me to go. I didn't have nowhere to live. And as crazy as it sounds now, because 21 years later, I'm where I'm at, and I've gotten to do a bunch of great things. It was crazy for me because I had to give up my comfort. As crazy as that was, I found comfort in the chaos. I had to give that comfort up in order to achieve my success that I have today. And I know that as I get ready to retire from the military, it's going to cost me even more. It's going to cost me everything that I built for the last 21 years, 23 years. It's going to cost me all of that because I'm going to have to change and adapt to a new way of living. And the same thing goes for you. So what have you been holding on to that you need to give up in order to go up? I always use this analogy. If you're watching this, grab, clench your fist and hold them tight. And let's say that you were struggling financially and I came by and I gave you $100 bill, but your unwillingness to let go, you kept your fist clenched and you're holding on to everything from the past and you're struggling financially. And I come by and say, here's $100. You would not be able to receive it because you're so busy holding on to things that don't belong to you and your unwillingness to give up. Not realizing that right here, this $100 could maybe buy you groceries, could buy you a tank of gas. It could help you in your current situation or circumstance, but your unwillingness to let go is killing your potential and your opportunity right in front of you. Now, the same thing goes with our mind. If we read a book, you listen to a podcast, somebody says something to you that helps you grow, but we keep our mind closed off and we don't open our minds to what's possible, we never really learn the lesson, do we? And we go through life, we read books, we do all the growth and development, but nothing changes because we didn't change the way we think. Your thinking will drive your belief, and your belief will always drive your behavior. And so in order to change your life, you must start changing your patterns of thinking and your belief system. So what have you been holding on to? And what beliefs do you have about yourself and about the world and about people around you that have been keeping you stuck? Because remember, you have to be willing to trade the good for the great. And this is important because you might be living a pretty good life right now. You might be living a life that is getting by. You're merely striving. But are you thriving? Because I believe that in every one of us, we have internal compass that lets us know that there's always something more. There's something better than what we've been given. There's something better than our current situation, that where we are right now is not final. This is not our final destination. And in order to get to where we belong, we must be willing to grow. And so what are you willing to give up today so that you can have a better tomorrow? And I want you to think about this as we close up today. Everything worthwhile comes with a cost, but the cost of staying the same is far greater than the cost of growing and reaching your potential. And I want you to understand that when we make decisions with intention, we let go of what's holding us back and we embrace the sacrifices that lead to growth. That's when we're able to change our life, and not only our life, but the lives of those we lead and those we love. So ask yourself, are you willing to give up comfort of today and embrace the challenges of tomorrow so that you can grow into your potential in the future? Your ability to do that starts with commitment. And so think about this. It will cost us everything, but everything is the price of freedom. It's the price of purpose, the price of a life that you're truly meant to live. And so remember, in order to go up, you have to be willing to give up. As always, if you want to take the PDF and the slides from this podcast, they're going to be down in the link below. You can click those and download them and use them as you listen to this. But I encourage you to share this with somebody you lead or somebody you love. And go back and listen to it and ask myself, how can I apply this to my life, to my leadership, to my business, to the organization that I'm in? Don't be the best kept secret. Share this with people and those that you want to grow as well. And as always, I'd appreciate it if you followed the show. I don't get paid for this. This is solely out of the kindness of my heart. And so by you sharing it, by you liking it, by you subscribing, this helps this channel grow so that we can reach more leaders, because when we get better, everybody else gets better as a result. I'll see you on the next show.